Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down the manga chapter by chapter, and today we're on chapter 95, Spin, Pinwheel, Spin.
This is it, the end of the Arlong Park arc, and it ends not with a bang, but with a quiet, perfect character moment.
Quiet? Robin, it ends with a heist, the greatest goodbye heist of all time. But you're right, the emotional core of this chapter, Nami takes a symbol of her 8 years of torment, the brand of the Arlong pirates on her arm, and she doesn't just erase it, she transforms it.
She turns a scar from her past into a testament to her future. It is a profound act of self-reclamation. It's one of the most powerful things we've seen a character do yet, and I think it will remain one of the series' defining moments for years to come.
Absolutely. It's the kind of moment that makes you feel like you're part of the crew. Speaking of which, if you want to feel like you've officially signed on with us for the whole voyage, find that subscribe button. We're about to set sail from the East Blue. You don't want to be left at the dock. This is the last stop before the big show.
Let's get into it. The party in Cocoyasi is still going strong.
It is, and we open on Luffy, of course, absolutely housing an entire fish. He's just shoving it in his face while asking Sanji about some kind of raw ham melon. The man's priorities are unshakable. Food first, food second, existential questions about the nature of freedom somewhere down the list, maybe after dessert.
It's a wonderful contrast to the weight of the last few chapters. For days, this village, and by extension the readers, have been suffocating under Arlong's tyranny. Now the first thing we see is our hero, the Liberator, with absolutely no thoughts in his head beyond his next meal. It's a beautiful, ridiculous return to normalcy.
And Sanji, meanwhile, has his own unshakable priorities. He's immediately surrounded by women from the village, completely in his element. He's probably already promised to cook a 7-course meal for every single one of them. The man is a whirlwind of hearts and spices.
It's interesting, though. His flirtatiousness is a constant, but here it feels different. It's not just him chasing a pretty face. He's celebrating with people who are truly happy for the first time in years. He's basking in their joy, and I think it's a core part of his character we're starting to see. He thrives on making others happy, whether it's with food or, well, with his very enthusiastic compliments.
True. He's a giver. And Usopp is holding court, telling his grand tales to a captive audience of villagers. You know he's adding at least 50% to his own contributions. He's probably claiming he landed the final blow on Arlong with a special exploding star of truth.
He's Captain Usopp again for this one night. He's telling the story not just as it happened, but as he wished it happened, with him at the center. It's more than just lying for ego. For Usopp, storytelling is how he processes events. It's how he builds his own courage. By telling the tale of a brave warrior, he gets one step closer to actually being one.
It's like he's manifesting his own future bravery. It's a moment of pure, uncomplicated joy for everyone, a release of all that tension. Zoro's off by himself, of course, probably trying to see how long he can stand on one leg or something, just being Zoro.
He's earned his rest. But the tone of the chapter doesn't linger on the party. The mood shifts. We cut to Genzo, the town sheriff, walking away from the celebration. He's going somewhere important.
Yeah, the sounds of the party fade out and it gets real quiet. He's going to Bell-mare's grave. He brings a bottle of sake with him and he pours one out for her on the grave.
It's such a simple, powerful gesture, a shared drink with a departed friend. The whole arc has been about the lingering shadow of Bell-mère, her sacrifice, and the will she passed on to her daughters and the village. This feels like the final report to a commanding officer. Mission accomplished.
That hits hard. He just stands there and talks to her. He tells her that her daughters, Nami and Nojiko, have grown into strong women, just like she was. You can feel the years of worry and responsibility in his voice, even though we can't hear it. He's been watching over them this whole time, carrying that burden for her.
He makes a promise, not just for himself, but for the whole village. He says they're all going to live life to the fullest for the sake of everyone who didn't make it fighting for their freedom. That's such a key One Piece theme. Victory isn't just about winning the fight. It's about what you do with the peace that follows. You have a duty to live a life worthy of the sacrifices made for you.
That's the weight of this victory. It's not just the party. It's a responsibility to honor the people who didn't make it. Genzo feels every bit of that. He's the anchor of this village's memory.
And just as he's having this deeply somber, personal moment of reflection and quiet grief,
Inverse Luffy. Got any raw hand melon? He's just stomping through the Tangerine Grove, completely oblivious, still on his food quest. The tonal whiplash is incredible. Oda is a master of crashing the absurd into the profound.
Genzo is obviously not pleased and stops him. He's ready to lay into this disrespectful kid who is trampling through a sacred place, but then Luffy sees the grave.
And the switch flips instantly. All the goofiness, all the food brain, it just drains away. He sees the sake, he sees the tangerines, he sees Genzo's posture. He just looks at it, understands immediately, and says sorry for your loss. No jokes, no questions, just pure, unadulterated empathy.
It's such a crucial little moment for Luffy. He can be an idiot about almost everything, but he has this deep instinctual understanding of things that actually matter. Loss, conviction, dreams. He never gets those things wrong. We saw it with Chow Chu the dog in Orangetown, with Zeph at the Barati. He can't comprehend complex math, but he can comprehend the geometry of a broken heart perfectly.
Never. And Genzo sees that. He sees past the straw hat and the vacant grin and sees the core of the man who just saved them all. And he gives him an ultimatum. He says, Monkey D. Luffy, if you ever take the smile from Nami's face, I will come and kill you myself.
The framing of this panel is fantastic. Genzo drawn as this imposing, serious figure looking down at Luffy. It's not a threat from a sheriff to a pirate. It's a warning from a father to the boy taking his daughter away on a dangerous journey. He's entrusting Luffy with the most precious thing in his world, Nami's happiness.
And Luffy doesn't laugh it off. He doesn't get angry or defensive. He just looks Genzo dead in the eye and gets it. He gives this slight, almost imperceptible nod. He completely understands the weight of that promise. That's our captain, man. He accepts the responsibility. He doesn't need to say, I promise. His expression says it all.
While that's happening, there's another quiet scene unfolding with Nojiko and Chabo, the little boy whose father was killed by Arlong's crew.
Right. She notices he's not moping around during the party and asks him about it. It's a gentle prodding, checking in on him.
And his answer is so mature for a kid who just lost his father. He just says nothing good would come from thinking like that he has to be strong because he's the only man left in his house. He's already looking forward.
Nojiko is so taken aback she can't even tease him. She just pinches his cheek. The whole village is healing. They're not forgetting, but they're refusing to be defined by the tragedy anymore. The cycle of vengeance and despair that Arlong created is broken, and it's broken by the youngest generation. That's hope right there.
Which brings us to Nami herself, the person at the center of all this healing. She is with Dr. Nako, and they're talking about her tattoo, the Arlong mark.
And the doctor gives her some tough news. He says even if he removes it, it's been there so long, carved so deep, that a scar will always remain. It's a brutal, honest assessment.
The symbolism there is chilling and incredibly realistic. You can't just erase 8 years of trauma. You can't pretend it didn't happen. The mark it leaves you, physical or emotional, will always be there in some form. Oda doesn't offer an easy way out. He acknowledges that the pain was real and its effects are permanent.
And Nami remembers telling Nojiko how much it hurt being branded like that, how it felt like her skin was being ripped off. And what did Nojiko do? She went out and got her own tattoos, a lot of them.
She said that way they could share the pain, so Nami wouldn't have to bear it alone. She saw Nami suffering and, unable to remove it, chose to enter into it with her. It's not about aesthetics, it's a physical manifestation of empathy. If you have to hurt, I'll hurt with you.
That is sisterhood right there. That's family. Nojiko couldn't take the pain away, so she put some of it on herself, just to stand with her. It's one of the most incredible, understated acts of love in the entire series. It recontextualizes Nojiko's whole look. It's not just a cool design, it's a tapestry of shared pain.
It is, and in the present, hearing from the doctor that the scar will remain, Nami doesn't despair. She doesn't cry. She makes a decision. She hands the doctor a piece of paper.
And she says, then tattoo something else over it. Chills. Just chills. She's not erasing the past. She's building on top of it. She's taking back her own body, her own story.
It's an act of reclamation, the ultimate act of defiance against Arlong. He put a mark of ownership on her, and she is overriding it with a mark of her own identity. He doesn't get to own that piece of her anymore. She's taking the foundation of her pain and building something beautiful on it.
The next day, the Straw Hats are getting ready to leave. The Going Merry is stocked, probably mostly with tangerines and whatever Sanji could whip up, and ready to go.
And we get a small goodbye. Johnny and Yosaku are there, but they announce they aren't coming with them to the Grand Line.
Yeah, they say their path ends here. As bounty hunters sailing with a wanted pirate crew, especially one whose captain now has a 30 million belly bounty, wouldn't be a good look. It's a practical decision, and it makes sense. It's a little sad, but they're still friends. They part on good terms with a salute. It's a mature parting of ways.
It also serves to underscore the significance of the journey ahead. The Grand Line isn't a place for part-timers. It requires total commitment. The crew is waiting, but someone is missing. Usopp asks where Nami is.
And Zoro, ever the pessimist, the moss-headed pot stirrer, just says maybe she's not coming. Just stirring the pot after everything they just went through.
To be fair, given their history with her, it's not an unfounded fear. She has left them before. She has betrayed them from their perspective. Zoro is the crew's pragmatist. He's not going to believe it until he sees her on the deck. His comment raises the tension for her final decision, making her arrival that much more satisfying.
Meanwhile, Genzo and Dr. Neko are in shock. They've just heard Nami is leaving her treasure, the 100 million bellies she worked for 8 years to collect, for the village. All that blood, sweat, and tears, and she's just leaving it behind.
But Nojiko just laughs. She understands her sister perfectly. She says Nami was perfectly happy with the idea of just going out and stealing more money later. It's a brilliant line. It shows that Nami is finally free from the burden of that money. It was never about the wealth. It was a tool to buy back her home. Now that its purpose is fulfilled, it's just paper to her.
That's our girl. That's the cat burglar we know and love. She's not defined by that money anymore. It's served its purpose. Now she's free. Her real treasure is the adventure ahead and the family she's found.
And then we see her. Nami starts running through the center of town, straight for the port. The whole village has gathered to see her off, to thank her, to give her a proper farewell.
She yells at the crew, "Set sail, let's go!" And the villagers are all confused. They're like, "Wait, you're leaving without saying goodbye? We wanted to thank you." They're hurt. They think she's being cold.
They think she's just slipping away, perhaps unable to face an emotional farewell, but she's not.
She's not. She runs right through the crowd of people who came to see her off, and as she leaps from the dock onto the Mary, a shower of wallets and purses rains down from her clothes. It takes everyone a second to realize what happened.
She picked every single one of their pockets on her way to the ship. Every last one.
Yes, it's the greatest goodbye in history. It's so perfect. She doesn't want a tearful, sappy farewell. That's not her. That's not them. So she gives them a reason to be mad at her, to yell and shake their fists as she sails away. It's a performance of love.
It lets them keep their pride, and it lets her keep hers. They're yelling at her, but they're all smiling. They get it. It's her way of saying, "I love you, you idiots. I'll miss you, and don't you ever forget me." It's goodbye in the language they all understand, the language of Nami.
It is. And she's on the ship, laughing, yelling, "See ya," back at them. This is Nami, completely and utterly free. Genzo shouts after Luffy to remember his promise, and the Mary sails off. This is it. She's officially, finally, a Straw Hat pirate. Her place on that ship has been earned and solidified in a way no one else's has yet.
And then we get the final piece of the puzzle, the emotional capstone. Dr. Neko walks up to Genzo. He hands him the piece of paper Nami gave him in his office.
The design for her new tattoo.
It's a pinwheel and a tangerine meshed together. A beautiful, simple design.
A tangerine for Bell-mère and a pinwheel for Genzo. Oh, man, my heart. She didn't just cover up the mark of her oppressor. She replaced it with the symbols of the two people who loved her and raised her. She's wearing her family on her arm. That's her strength now. The brand of Arlong was a symbol of her bondage. This new tattoo is a symbol of her bonds.
And Nojiko, ever observant, notices something. She looks at Genzo and says, "Your pinwheel, it's gone." He doesn't have it on his hat anymore.
For this entire arc, since the moment we met him, he's had that pinwheel spinning on his hat. It looks so goofy on this tough-as-nails sheriff. And he just says, I don't need it anymore.
And we get a flashback. The final piece of the story. We see why he had it in the first place. When Nami was just a baby, Bell-mère got mad at Genzo because his scarred, scary-looking face was making her cry.
So what does he do? This stoic, serious lawman? He sticks a little toy pinwheel on his hat, and when it spun, baby Nami stopped crying and started laughing. He wore that thing for years, through battles, through the Arlong occupation, just to make her smile. He made himself look foolish for a decade, just on the off chance it would bring her a moment of joy.
He doesn't need it anymore because Nami is smiling, genuinely smiling. She's on a ship with her friends, sailing toward her dream, laughing. His job is done. He carried the burden of her smile, and now I think he has passed that responsibility to Luffy.
And the final shot of the arc. On Bell-mère's grave, there's the sake cup Genzo left, a fresh tangerine, and Genzo's pinwheel spinning in the wind. He's reporting back to her. Our girl is okay. Super. That's just a perfect ending. It's poetry.
It truly is. It ties up every emotional thread of the arc beautifully. Freedom, family, and the future. There is not a single wasted panel in this chapter. It is a masterpiece of emotional storytelling.
Whew, okay. Before we move on to predictions, what was going on with the cover story? Feels like a world away now after all that.
Right. We get a small check-in with Axe Hand Morgan. He's being transported on a marine ship, presumably to a high-security prison, but he manages to take his son Helmeppo hostage to escape.
So the worst dad in the East Blue continues his reign. I feel for Helmeppo. He was just starting to turn things around with Kobe. He was sweeping floors, he was showing some humility, he was trying to become a man his father never was. And now this is a huge setback.
It complicates his path forward, certainly. This is a massive test for him. Will he regress into the sniveling coward he was, or will he find the strength to stand up to his father? And what about Garp, who I assume was escorting Morgan? Did he let this happen? It will be interesting to see how Helmeppo gets out of this, and what it means for his goal of becoming a proper Marine.
It's also just good storytelling. Oda doesn't forget about these characters. The world keeps moving even when we are not looking. The consequences of Luffy's actions continue to ripple outwards.
Speaking of Oda, he left a little author's comment this week. He was talking about a video game, something about monkeys called Pipozaru.
Pipozaru? Sounds like a new kind of sushi.
I believe it's a reference to the game Ape Escape, which was very popular on the PlayStation around that time in Japan. The monkeys in the game were called Pipozaru. He just said he thought they were funny and liked their little dance.
It's always great to get a little window into what he's thinking about. In the middle of crafting one of the most emotional endings to a story arc, he's just thinking, man, those video game monkeys are funny. Just the guy who loves drawing his manga and playing video games. You gotta respect it.
From the highest emotional stakes to goofy dancing monkeys. That's One Piece.
That's the whole spectrum right there. What an incredible chapter. An all-time ending to an all-time arc. Seriously, if you're ever trying to get someone into One Piece, the Arlong Park arc is the closer. If they don't feel anything after this, they might not have a soul.
Absolutely. And with Nami's Lu tattoo, she's memorialized her family forever. That pinwheel and tangerine design is iconic. It's a statement that her strength comes from those she loves, not from those who hurt her.
It really is. It makes you think about all the different symbols the Straw Hats carry. Luffy's hat, Zoro's swords, and now Nami's tattoo. If you've got a favorite Straw Hat tattoo or symbol, let us know why in the comments. I'd love to hear it.
All right, with Arlong Park officially behind us, where do we go from here? Predictions for Chapter 96?
Okay, I've got a couple. First, and this feels like the obvious one, Logue Town. It's the town of the beginning and the end. It's the last major island in the East Blue before you hit the Reverse Mountain. It's where Gold Roger was born and executed. There's no way we just sail past it. It's a pilgrimage site for pirates. They have to stop.
That seems almost certain. It's too significant a location to skip. Thematically, for Luffy to begin his journey on the Grand Line, he must first stand where the King of the Pirates ended his. What else?
I think we'll get a scene of Arlong and his officers in marine custody. Maybe Nezumi is there, trying to take all the credit, and a higher-ranking marine just shuts him down completely. I want to see them on a prison ship, defeated. And maybe they pass by another ship or a marine we know makes a comment. Just a final nail in the coffin for them. A little bit of schadenfreude.
A final look at the defeated villains. I could see that. It would close their chapter definitively. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that someone is going to see Luffy's new bounty poster, and it will be a big deal. That 30 million belly wanted poster is out there now. Arlong Park was isolated, but the moment they hit a major marine-controlled port like Logtown, that poster is going to cause immediate trouble. They're not just some kids on a boat anymore. They're a government-recognized threat.
Oh, for sure. They're not small-time pirates anymore. That number puts a huge target on their backs from both the Marines and every bounty hunter in town. They're walking into the lion's den.
Exactly. Second, now that the East Blue Saga is essentially complete, I think we'll get our first real glimpse of the Grand Line's political landscape. We know Arlong was a big shot from the Grand Line, and he must have had connections. He even worked for one of the 7 warlords of the sea at one point, I think. I predict we'll see one of the warlords, maybe Mihawk again, reading a newspaper about Arlong's defeat and Luffy's bounty, and we get their reaction, a hint of the bigger fish in the sea they're about to swim with.
A warlord reacting to Luffy? That would be a huge power scaling moment. Like, oh, this kid beat Arlong? Cute. It would instantly establish how much bigger the world is about to get. I like that a lot.
And for my last one, I think we'll check back in on that cover story. We just saw Morgan take Helmeppo hostage. The story can't just end there. I predict the next chapter's cover will show us Kobe's reaction to this news. He'll hear his friend has been taken, and it will test his resolve and his new sense of justice. What does he do when the law is at odds with his loyalty to a friend?
Ah, good call. We can't just leave Helmeppo in a hostage situation. We gotta see how his best friend handles it. That's a perfect test for a future Marine. Okay, those are the predictions. We'll see who's right next time.
We will. The East Blue is in the rearview mirror, the 5-person crew is assembled, the Grand Line awaits.
The adventure is just getting started. Thanks for listening to this breakdown of Chapter 95. Join us next time as we take our first steps into what's next. Until then, stay super!